This weekend, we are going to continue talking about the fight of your life, and we talked about it last week, and it's actually from a book that I released a couple of months ago, and we're making it available at all of our locations this weekend, and really, it's probably one of the most unique books you've ever seen. It's a visual book, which means that every page is, doesn't have all the words on it, doesn't have all the stories, it just has nuggets. It has things that will cause you to be able to read it in a day and then maybe keep it with you by your bed or in your bag, or just take it with you so that when you need that dose of encouragement, or you need that inspiration, or you need that will to fight again, that's what this book can really be about. That's my deepest hope for this book, is that it can inspire you. And it started selfish. I needed a book like this for myself, that I could read in a day and check it off my list and then also go back to it. So hopefully it was encouraging to me, and hopefully it can be encouraging to some of you out there as well. So we're going to continue talking about it today, and if you want to catch up a little bit, you can always catch up on our app or on our website. You can catch up on YouTube from last week, and we talked about fighting with prayer, we talked about fighting with words, fighting with faith. And today we're going to talk a little bit more out of the book, as well as some additional thoughts. But I think we should just thank everybody who's serving today before we get started. Can you just do that? All of our worship teams, all of our media teams. There's people serving our kids at all of our locations today. And if you have kids that you're picking up after service, can you just say thank you when you pick up your kids? Because that will mean the world to those kids' volunteers, okay? All right, so we're going to start here, the fight of your life. We're going to start in 1 Timothy chapter 6. Now, this is when the Apostle Paul was writing to his protege, Timothy, and he says, "Fight the good fight of faith." Now, we're pretty sure that Paul was actually in a prison when he was writing this letter. So he was fighting his good fight of faith, and he was encouraging his protege, Timothy, to also fight the good fight of faith. And today, I'm going to encourage myself, and I'm going to encourage anyone who has ears to hear today, to fight the good fight of faith. Now, sometimes it's hard to imagine, well, what does that mean? What does the good fight of faith mean? And today we're going to use this interchangeably with God's best. I want to encourage you to fight for God's best in your life. Fight for God's best in your family. Fight for God's best in your workplace. Fight for God's best right here in our church. Fight for God's best in our communities. This is what fighting the good fight of faith can look like, is when we choose to fight for God's best in every area of our life. The truth is, we all have a fighter inside of us. God created us with the DNA to fight. That's why it comes so easily sometimes, like even the fights that we shouldn't fight, like we're built to fight, and so we're just ready, like come at me, bro, like we're just ready. We all have a fighter inside of us, which means we're capable of fighting for God's best. We're capable of fighting the good fight. Not every fight is a good fight. We're going to talk about that. Some of the fights that we fight that aren't good fights, sometimes we're fighting feelings or perceptions or assumptions. We create these fights out of nothing just because we feel something. It's probably not a good fight to fight. Sometimes we take on other people's fights. You hate that person because your parents hate that person. Your friend tells you that somebody offended them at work, and now you're offended with them. You don't know that person. You weren't there. You don't have the whole context, the whole picture, but now you're taking on somebody else's fight. It's probably not a good fight to fight. Some fights aren't yours to fight. Some people are just always looking for a fight. They're just always ready for a fight, always got a chip on their shoulder, always looking for a fight. Some people just love the fight to be right. No matter what the cost, no matter who is collateral damage, they're going to fight to be right. Not every fight is a good fight. instead of focusing on who we're fighting with or what we're fighting against, we're going to focus on what we're fighting for. And I want to ask you this question: what are you fighting for? If fighting the good fight of faith is about fighting for God's best in every area of our life, I want you to imagine, what does your future look like? What does God's best for you look like? And are you willing to fight for it? Are you willing to walk away from some of the fights that you don't need to fight, that aren't your fight to fight? Are you willing to fight for God's best? Imagine what that future could look like. Some of you are in the fight of your life right now. You're fighting for your marriage. Some of you are in the fight of your life right now, fighting for your purity, fighting for your career, fighting for your family, fighting for your health, fighting for your joy, your peace of mind. What are you fighting for? Instead of focusing on what you're fighting against or who you're fighting with, let's focus on fighting for God's best in every area of our lives. Something that we started talking about last week is when David fought Goliath, he didn't just fight for himself. Yes, there was plenty of things in it for him. He fought for the accolades, he fought for the rewards, but he didn't just fight for himself. He also fought for his nation. He also fought for his family. He also fought for his legacy and future generations. He fought for himself, and he didn't fight for just himself. And we talked about how his fight was 100% about him and 100% not about him. And it's the same for you and I. We're all going to face fights along the way of life. We're not just going to face one fight. I'm sorry to be the messenger of that. You're either coming out of a fight, or you're in the middle of a fight, or you're on your way to a fight. And there's going to be multiple fights. We're going to face fights over and over in our life. And some are going to be big and some are going to be small. But each and every fight that we fight is 100% about you. And 100% not about you. So we're going to camp out here a little bit today. The fight that you're fighting for your health is 100% about you. So that you can walk in wholeness, so that you don't have to go to the doctor every week or every month or even every 6 months. Your fight for healing is 100% about you. And it's 100% not about you. It's about the people in your life. It's about your legacy. It's about your coworkers, your friends at school. It's about your family. Your fight for your self-control, your fight for recovery, your fight for success, your fight for confidence, your fight for peace of mind. All of these fights are 100% about you and 100% not about you. Your fight for spiritual health, your fight for healthy relationships, your fight for emotional health, physical health, all of these fights, they are 100% about you and 100% not about you. Now, if you're a mathematician in here, just give me some grace. This isn't a math problem, okay? This is God's economy. When it comes to our fight, when it comes to our faith, some of you might feel like you're in the fight of your life right now. And you feel like maybe you're being attacked, or you feel like things are against you, no matter how many times you pray, no matter how many times you use your words as a weapon, no matter how many times you try to build your faith. It just feels like everything's out to get you. Everyone's out to get you. You just feel like the resistance is so great. Can I just say that the enemy knows if he can take you out, he can potentially take out your friends, your coworkers, your family, your children, your future children, your children's children, your legacy. The enemy knows if he can just get you off track, if he can get you to throw in the towel, if he can get you to throw your arms up in surrender, that maybe, just maybe, a whole generation will be put off track or put on hold. A whole family tree could actually be dismantled if he could just get to you. If he could just get you to quit. You might feel like you're being attacked, and I want to tell you, it's not just about you. The resistance is so great because it's more than just about you. In 1 Peter, we learn that the devil, he roams around like a lion looking for who he can devour. In the book of John, we find out that the enemy comes to steal and kill and destroy. In Ephesians, we see it, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Now the last 3 minutes is freaking some of you out. You're like, I knew it. I knew that there were forces of evil against me. It's not to scare you, but we do have to have an awareness that there is a real enemy and that he does have an agenda to take you out. But he doesn't hold all the cards. And he doesn't have all of the leverage. In fact, when you say yes to Jesus, you say yes to the all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present God. You say yes to the Lord of Lords. You say yes to the King of Kings. You say yes to the name above every name. When you say yes to Jesus, you're actually telling the enemy, hey, you don't have power over my situation. You might come in here trying to distract me. You might come in here trying to bring problems in my life. You might come in here bringing the fog of my life, but you can't own me. I own God's promises in my life, and the promises of God I'm going to stand firm on, that his name is above every name. The name is above cancer. His name is above depression. His name is above anxiety. His name is above financial issues. His name, Jesus, is above every name. And so, yes, the enemy is real, but our God is real too. Yes, the enemy can have his way, but he can't have his way for long. We can make a big deal out of the enemy, or we can make a big deal out of God. We can make a big deal out of our problems, or we can make a big deal out of God's promises. When we go to battle, when we go to fight, yes, the enemy is real. Let's just say that. Let's get on the same page. The enemy is real, but our God is real too. And he is the all-powerful. He is the all-knowing. He is the ever-present help in times of trouble. God is with you, and God is for you. And I want you to say that to yourself until you believe it. Don't disqualify yourself because of the fight you feel like you're in. God is with you, and God is for you. And just like there are things that are against us that we can't see, this enemy, this forces of evil that we can't see, we feel like are working against us. God, the creator of the universe, the one who spoke the word, his word, and the world came into existence. The one who breathed breath to begin the first generation of humanity. That God. Sometimes we can't see it. Sometimes we can't feel it. But God is working on your behalf. God is ready and God is willing to go to battle with you and to fight your battles with you. You don't have to fight alone. God is with you and he's ready. Even when you can't see it. Even when you can't feel it. Even when you feel like you've messed up. Even when you feel like it's the last straw. Even when you feel like all hope is lost. Guess what? God's ready. He's probably already working. He's probably already fighting for you. You just haven't seen it yet. But don't you lose hope. Don't you throw in the towel. You put your shoulders back. You put your head up. and you believe, you stand on the promises of God, not for somebody else's life, for your life. Some of you just need to have the faith for yourself to fight. Have the faith that God is with you to fight. Just got to let it sink in. I just feel like some of you are disqualifying yourselves. You're saying, that sounds good for you. That sounds good for the next person, but I haven't seen God fight my battles yet. Why not open up your heart again? Why not see what God can do? The Lord, your God, is with you, is for you, and is willing to go to battle against your enemies so that you too can have the victory. When you feel discouraged, I want you to remind yourself who God says you are and how he says you will win. We're all going to get discouraged. We're all going to face those moments where we don't feel like we can win, where we feel like we've gotten knocked down. If you've seen a fight, if you've seen a boxing match or you've seen an MMA fight, how many times does the winner look just as beat up as the loser? Like you're looking at them and you're like, man, they won? Life might throw you a couple blows and bruises, but don't let it make you dizzy for too long. Let's be the kind of people that pull out the boxing gloves and look in the mirror and compel ourselves to say that my battle will be a blessing. And I will win if I don't quit. And God is on my side. Imagine saying that in the mirror instead of looking at the mirror and saying, I don't have it, I can't do it, I'm defeated, I'm all alone. No, you put your boxing gloves on and you say, my battle will be a blessing. I will win if I don't quit. God is on my side. Do you see the difference? It changes the whole perspective. The Bible said, here, we're going to do this, okay? Because I want you to say this for yourself. I feel like some of you are holding back, and I want you to say it out loud to yourself. So just indulge me for a minute. Everybody just, wherever you are, if you can hear the sound of my voice, just point at yourself. Okay, we're all going to say this. Just repeat it after me. Say, self, I am more than a conqueror. Self, I am the head and not the tail. Self, I am above and not beneath. I am the first and not the last. The one who is in me is greater than he that is in the world. These are all promises that the Bible gives us. You are more than a conqueror. You are above and not beneath. You are the head and not the tail. You are the first and not the last. And the God who is inside of you, if you have said yes to Jesus, he is way greater and way more powerful than the one who's in the world. You may have heard this popular phrase, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Well, I think we should be both. I think that we should be a lover and a fighter. Now, don't just be a fighter just to fight all the things, right? Because we already talked about, we've already qualified. Some fights are not ours to fight. Not every fight is a good fight, okay? So we're not talking about walking around with a chip on our shoulder. What we are talking about is that when it's your turn to fight, that you face that fight. You face it with faith. You face it with the strength and the power of the God that you serve. You face it. You don't back down. You can't afford to quit. You have a fight to fight and win. You can win if you don't quit. Because it's not just about you. There's other people that are going to be affected. And God wants us to win, which means we're going to have to fight some battles. But when we face them and know that God is with us and God is on our side, because he knows too that it's not just about you. The enemy knows it, but God knows it too. And that's why he wants us to win these fights. Now, I want to give you two things that I really feel like are going to change your life no matter what fight you face. Two things. And then I want to equip you with how to go into battle, like being battle ready, before we're done today. The first thing is to show up when you're winning. When you're facing a fight, when you're in the middle of a fight, or when you've just come out of one, show up when you're winning. Show up in your victory. Show up in your strength. Someone else needs to see you winning. Someone else needs to see your prayers being answered. Someone who is praying right now and are looking for an answer, they need to see that God showed up in your life. Show up in your strength. Show up in your victory. Show up when you're winning. It's not just about you. You don't have to be boastful and arrogant and shove it in people's faces, but your strength and the God showing up favor in your life can actually inspire somebody else who feels like, man, I just don't know if God's going to show up. They see God show up for you, and then all of a sudden they're inspired. Well, God can show up for them. God can show up for me. Show up when you're winning. And it's not just about the other people who need you. You need them. When you're winning, sow life back into somebody else. Because when we encourage others, we are more encouraged. It's both. You don't have to fight alone, and you don't have to celebrate alone. Show up when you're winning. The second thing that I know will change your life no matter what fight you're facing is to show up when you're losing. Show up when you're losing. I know it's hard. I know it could be embarrassing. I know that it could feel heavy. Show up. Show up in your failures. Show up in your weakness. Show up in your struggles. You don't have to fight alone. This family of God is ready and willing to fight your battles with you. A healthy family rallies when someone's winning. A healthy family rallies when someone's losing. Show up. Keep showing up. We don't have a shame box that we're going to make you go sit under. Okay, shame off you. You don't have to fight your battle alone. Keep showing up. Show up in your strength and show up in your struggle. Show up when you're winning and show up when you're losing. Show up. Just keep showing up. We read out of Ephesians 6 already today, and this is a couple verses before it. Ephesians 6:10. Finally, be strong in the Lord. Be strong in the what? Come on, help me out. Be strong in the... It doesn't say be strong in yourself. It doesn't say be strong in your past experiences. It says be strong in the Lord and in the strength of what? His might. Be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. So I want to help you get battle ready. I want to help you armor up. You can read about the armor of God in this chapter, Ephesians 6. I want to give you the bullet points so that you can armor up in your life. The feet in peace. We put our feet in peace because when we're choosing to walk in peace, we can't walk in anything else. When we're choosing to walk in peace, we can't walk in anxiety. We can't walk in doubt. We walk in peace. Our feet in peace. God says that he has a peace that passes all understanding. So when you don't understand it, when it's not logical, when people are like, well, why are you at peace about that? Like, it's just chaotic. You can say, I'm standing in peace. The peace of God. I don't understand it, but I'm doing it. Feet in peace. Belt of truth. This is the armor of God, our belt of truth. I thought this was interesting. In ancient army and battle gear, the belt was what held the armor together. If they didn't have the right belt on, their armor wouldn't be effective. It's the same for us in our lives. If we have our lives held together by the truth of God's word, everything else will be held together in strength. It's not built on lies. It's not built on the labels of your fourth grade teacher. It's built on the truth of God. The breastplate of righteousness. Now, righteousness can be kind of a big word for people. Righteousness is just right standing with God. We put on the breastplate of righteousness, the right standing of God, not because of anything that I have done, not because of anything you could do or would do or have done. It's all because of what Jesus has already done for us on the cross. That's where right standing comes from. You say yes to Jesus, he forgives you, grace surrounds you, and you are in right standing with God. We put on our helmet of salvation. Our helmet of salvation, you say yes to Jesus, we have that eternal life. This protects our thoughts. This protects our mindset. You've heard, maybe if you've grown up in church, take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. Our helmet of salvation. And then our shield of faith. Our faith protects us. It's our strongest defense. Grow your faith. God can work with big faith, and God can work with small faith. Just keep growing your faith, because your faith is your strongest defense against all those forces of evil that we talked about. And then the sword of the Spirit. This is our offense. This is when we can use the word of God as a weapon. All the other things kind of help us stay strong with whatever comes at us. The sword of the Spirit is what we can actually take a stand and take more ground and say, no, this is the promise of God over my life. No, this is what I'm believing for God in my life. I'm not going to focus on the problem. I'm going to focus on the promise, and this is what it is. We get it. We say it. We declare it. I want you to be able to armor up for the small battles. I want you to be able to armor up for the big battles. We used to sing a song. My mom and we wrote a song, and I wasn't going to sing it for you, but I had so many people ask me, because I'm not a singer. I'm not on the worship team for a reason. But it's just a little song. I wrote it when I was like 8 or 9. So, but now we sing it with our boys, and it's just something to help us remember what the armor of God is. So nervous. Okay. So it just says, I got my feet in peace, I got my belt of truth, I got my breastplate of righteousness, I got my helmet of salvation, shield of faith, sword of the Spirit. That is all I need. It's just a little song. It stuck with us. I used to sing it on my way to school in the morning, and now we do that with our kids. It's invisible. There's not like a certain pair of shoes or an actual breastplate or a sword that we, get out of our sheath. But it's our armor. It's our armor and our reminder that even when we can't see it, God's working on our behalf. Even when we can't feel it, God is with us and ready to go to battle on your side. He's ready to go to battle so that you can win. And can I just tell you, you can win if you don't quit. If you quit, if you throw in the towel, then no, you can't win because you're not in the game anymore. You're not in the battle anymore because you threw in the towel. But if you just keep fighting, if you just keep going with God, if you just keep believing, if you just keep building up your faith, you can win. Just don't quit. You can't afford to quit because it's not just about you. It's 100% about you, and it's 100% not about you. There are other people, there are friends, there are coworkers, there are children and future children. There is a legacy that you are fighting for. It's not just about you. We're going to sing together. I want you to stand to your feet, whatever room you're in right now. If you can hear my voice, we're going to sing a song, but not my song. We're going to sing a better song, and we're going to sing it. We're going to declare it by faith. Because when we hear a word like this, it's so important for us to plant it in our hearts and put the soil on top of it, and then, water it with worship, okay? Just let's worship God. Let's see what can happen when we declare that even when I can't see it, God's working. Even when I can't feel it, God's working. Even when I kind of doubt, God is still working on my behalf. Come on, we're going to sing this out. We're going to believe it together. I want you to declare it in Jesus' name.